Gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to MGTOW Money. Today's topic, a MGTOW dream life. I was thinking about as a child growing up that I used to consistently hear comments like, you have no business doing, or in so many words, you'll never be able to do X, Y, or Z. You'll never be able to become a multi-millionaire, billionaire, and have a huge mansion, etc. You'll never be able to become an airline pilot. You'll never be able to become a huge entrepreneur, etc. You'll never be able to achieve those ideas that you might have. You'll just stay where you are. You'll do what we've all done. You'll just work till you're 65, 70, and just slowly pass away into the night and forgotten about, of course. I firmly disagree with this idea, men. This does not have to be you, and you can break the mold no matter what programming has been inserted into you. And specifically, what I'm going to be talking about today is how you are going to break the mold of what you have been fed into, how the system and your family and probably friends have emphasized to you all the things that you can't do, specifically the importance of role models. And again, this doesn't have to be people that you personally know. Let me emphasize that. I'm going to give you a real life example of one of my earliest role models. When I was a young man, mid to late 20s, and I mentioned this well over a year ago, I stumbled across a book. I don't know how I came across it, but I found this book. It was written in the mid 80s. This guy wrote a book called How to Retire on $50 a day. And yes, I'll include a link in the video description. You can see the book written, I think it was 1984, How to Retire on $50 a day. And I thought, what? This is ridiculous. This is impossible. This is a lie. There's no way anybody could do this. No one does this. But I read the book and wow, I think this guy actually did do it. I thought he was telling the truth. And then I stumbled across a few years later, and again, I've mentioned this before, a guy on a Yahoo Messenger board, if anybody even remembers that, where the guy was talking about, yeah, I'm about 40 or so, and I recently retired, etc., and this is exactly how he did it, and he went into very specific details about it, etc. And again, many people are like, oh, you're lying, this is not true, you're a fraud, etc. And it turns out, I think it was true. And he went on for several years about talking about how he did it and details about his life, etc. Again, these to me were revelations. These men were role models. They showed me, just like Roger Bannister showed in 1954, that you could run a sub 4-minute mile, that, hey, you could actually get out of the workforce at an early age. You could actually achieve financial independence, if you want to, at a relatively early age. You didn't have to win the lottery. You didn't have to have a huge inheritance. And by the way, let me mention something about the importance of role models. This is a huge difference, men, than with women. Women, I think, see role models more in a jealous, envious, very negative sort of fashion. I sincerely hope, you're seeing role models, you're seeing successful men around you. Again, whether you know them personally or that you're reading about, etc., not in an envious sort of way, but as an inspirational sort of way, as men thinking that if he can do it, you can do it too. Before I get into some actionable tips, let me specifically thank the Patreon investors in this channel. Those men of the MGTOW Money Army, I sincerely appreciate your ongoing support. And Patreon supporters, check your email. I recently sent you out an email where you can put up to $300 USD into your pocket. You can save some money at Lowe's, the home improvement store, as well as another way where you could potentially pick up some money. Again, Patreon investors, check your email that I recently sent you out a few days ago. All right, specifically what you're going to be thinking about with your role models are, what do they do? Who is it? Who did it? And how did they do it? Let me get into specifics about that. What do you want to do? Do you have a tremendous desire to be an artist, a musician, a billionaire like Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, whoever? What do you want? And if you're thinking, well, I'm not exactly sure what I want. Okay, let's reverse the question. What do you not want? And think about one thing that you do not want. What's the first thing that comes to your mind that you do not want, because then you're going to think about who did it. In other words, who achieved whatever you want. You're going to think about who achieved it, because now we're going to get into how did they do it. We need to reverse engineer their success. And specifically, I have seen a common principle among successful people, and I'm putting successful in quotes, in terms of who achieved their dreams, who have achieved their rich life, however you want to define that as. They focused in one area. They focused on one thing. If you want to be a great golfer, you need to practice a lot. If you want to be a great violinist, you're going to spend 6-7 hours a day, and you're not going to be able to spend 6-7 hours a day playing video games. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, you've got to be relatively obsessed with it. If you want to achieve financial independence at a relatively young age, frankly, you need to start early in terms of early in your work life. And 2, you're going to have to spend probably about 15 years or so being relatively obsessed with it. You're going to have to be tracking your finances on a daily basis. If you go through the well over 100 videos on this channel, I talk about this repeatedly. Specifically, men, start reading, watching, listening to what your role models have said, have done. How did they do it? They did leave clues, many of them. They left a roadmap. They may not go into very specific details, but you can quickly decide how did they do it. You can quickly determine it. So to quickly summarize here, you're going to think about, what do you want to achieve? You're going to have to pick one thing. You can't have 5. You can't even have 3. You got to pick one. 2, who did it? What specific person that you can relate to? You may not know that person, but at least that you can communicate with them in some way, shape, or form. You can read their writings, you can listen to their audio, whatever. Who did it? And 3, how did they achieve it? Reverse engineer. If they don't tell you specifically how they did it, think about, what specific things did they put into their life that you can duplicate, that you can replicate, that you can put into your life? Men, you can achieve the rich life you deserve and achieve your life dreams by discovering your role models and getting focused. Gentlemen, as always, hit the like button if you found this useful. John Galt, out.